welcome back to day 2 of the full stack booking app. So in this video, we'll be looking into the login part as well as the register part. Okay, so we'll be creating two screens, that is the login screen as well as register screen, so that we can register the users and store all of them inside our Firebase database. Okay, so firstly, let's look into the design part. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to create two screens as I told, that is login screen as well as register screen. And I'm going to go to my screens folder over here, and I'm going to say new file. I'm going to say login screen.js. Okay, and after that I'm going to create one more screen. I'm going to say register screen.js. Okay, so for the authentication part, we'll be making use of the email authentication. Okay, so let's start designing our login screen, which is looking like this. Okay, pretty simple designs. So I'm going to say rnfes to get the shorthand snippet, save the file. So let's go into our stack navigator so that we can include this particular screen, that is the login screen. So I want the login screen to be first. Okay, so for that reason, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say stack.screen. So the name for this, it's going to be login, and the component is going to be login screen. And over here we are not going to show the headers, so I'm just going to say options and header shown, we're going to set it to be false, like this. And let's import our login screen from the screens folder as such, like this. Okay, so now if I save the file, you should be seeing the login screen because that's the first screen inside of our stack navigator, correct? So save the file. Nothing is happening. Okay, let's refresh the app and start it over, correct? So hopefully now we should be seeing the first screen as our login screen. So let's give that a try. Yeah, so there you go, the first screen is the login screen. So let's go into our login screen and start designing all of the required details. So let's open up the login screen over here, and I'm gonna import firstly safe area view from React Native, and instead of the normal view, I'm gonna make use of the safe area view. Okay, save the file. Yeah, so now the text is in the correct position. So inside the safe area view, I'm gonna make use of the keyboard avoiding view firstly, that is gonna come from React Native. Okay, this one. And inside the keyboard avoiding view, I'm gonna write my first view, that is this piece of text. Okay, so this is gonna have two texts basically. So this is gonna be text 1 and this is gonna be our text 2. So for the first text, we're gonna say sign in. Okay, and for the second text over here, it's gonna say sign into your account. Yeah, so there you go, both of the texts are being seen. So for the view, I'm gonna give some basic styling. So firstly, I'm gonna say style. I'm gonna say justify content of center. Okay, and align items of center, and I'm gonna give a basic margin top of, let's say, 100. Okay, yeah, that's looking better. And for the safe area view, I'm gonna give a piece of style. So I'm gonna say style. I'm gonna give a flex of 1, and I'm gonna say a background color of white, and some internal spacing, that is padding of 10. Okay, and align items of center. Yeah, so there you go, the background is white currently. Okay, so now we're gonna style out the text, right? It is currently in a blue color. So for the first text, I'm gonna say style, so it's gonna have a color. So we're gonna say this color code that we've already used, 003580. Okay, yeah, so that's the blue color. So it's gonna have a font size of 17 and a font weight of, let's say, 700. Okay, there you go. So for the second text, that is sign into your account, we're gonna say style. I'm gonna give a margin top to this, let's say 15, and I'm gonna give it a font size as well of 18 and a font weight of, let's say, 500, like that. Okay, and for this I think, yeah, it is in black color itself. Okay, so after this view you're gonna write in all of our input fields. Okay, so we're gonna say view, one more view. So for this view I'm gonna give a basic margin top, so I'm gonna say margin top of 50, and over here I'm gonna initialize my first view for the email input field. So this is gonna have for the first as text, which is gonna say email. Okay, so after that we have is our text input. So let's say text input, that's going to come in from React Native, so import that out like this. So text input is going to take in, of course, the placeholder and some of the options. So we're going to say placeholder, so this is going to be enter your email ID, right? So I'm going to say enter your email ID, save the file. Yeah, you can see that coming on the screen. And after that, so we need the placeholder text color also. So in this case I'm going to give it a color of black. Okay, and we're going to give it some basic style as well. So I'm going to say style. So over here firstly we're going to give it a border bottom width, so border bottom color also, it's going to be, let's say, gray, and for the border bottom width it's going to be 1. Yeah, I think that's looking better. We're going to give it some margin vertical also of 10 and a specific width of 300. Okay, like that. And font size, I'll just look into it in just a bit, so I'm just gonna format this once. Okay, so I'm gonna just pretty much copy this view one more time, that is for our password field, and over here I'm gonna say secured text entry equals to true for the password. So over here instead of email I'm gonna say password. Okay, so over here it's just gonna be password for the placeholder here, so I'm gonna say password. So save the file. Okay, so for the first piece of text we're gonna give the styling, that is, which says email. So I'm gonna say style, a font size of, let's say, 17. Okay, and a font weight of 500. Yeah, I think that's looking better. So the same piece of styling I'm gonna give to the first text of this view, that is for the password. Okay, so here let's give some margin top to the second view. Okay, so style, yeah, I think that's looking better. So the next thing is we need to track whatever the user is typing inside of the input field as well as the password field. So for that I'll be introducing state. So over here I'm gonna say const input comma set input, or instead of that I'm going to say const email comma set email equals to use state, like this. Okay, and initially I'm going to pass in an empty string. Let's import use state from React like this. Okay, so similarly for the next thing I'm going to say const password comma set password equals to use state, again an empty string. So now for the first input let's provide the value. It's going to take in the value. So value is going to be whatever is stored inside of this particular state, right? So it's going to be email, so I'm going to say email over here. So next this is going to take in something called as the onChange text, that is whenever the user is typing a new character we're going to update the state. It's going to take in the text, and I'm going to say set email to be whatever the text is. Okay, so whatever the user is typing will be stored inside of this particular state. So the same thing I'm going to do that for the second input field over here. So I'm going to say value. So this is going to be password, and it's going to have onChange text. So this is going to take in the text, and in this case I'm going to say set password to be the text. All right, so let's format it once and save the file. Okay, so the next thing is we need to look into the font size. Okay, so I'm going to give the style over here to this one. So I'm going to say font size. So firstly I'm going to apply the condition. So if at all the email is there, I want the font size to be 18, else also I want to be the font size to be 18. Okay, so there you go, that's working fine. Okay, so if this is 18, let's even make the top one 18. I don't think that's going, yeah, I think that's looking better. So same thing over here as well, 18. So here also we're going to say font size. If at all we have the password, I'm gonna say I want 18, else also I want 18. Save the file. Okay. Yep, I think that's looking better. And for this, I think we need to make it or we need to give it the color of gray for the email. Okay, so I'm gonna say color of gray. Okay, so the same piece of styling I'm gonna give for the password as well, color gray. Yeah, I think that's looking better. Let's try to increase the font weight of this 600. Okay, so 600 over here as well. And after that we have is our login button, correct? So that's gonna come right after, let's say, this view. So I'm gonna say pressable. Okay, so import pressable from React Native like this, and inside the pressable it's gonna take in a text field which is gonna say login, and we're gonna give it some styling, correct? So I'm gonna say style. I wanted to have a width of 200 and a basic background color that we already have. Okay, so background color is gonna be the same color that we used before, that is 003580. Okay, so after that we have a bit of internal spacing, that is padding of 15 and a slight border radius of 7, and I'm gonna give a margin top of, let's say, 50 for this, and I'm gonna give margin left of auto and margin right of auto as well, so it comes to the center part. So there you go. Okay, so let me format once. You can check out the style for that. So the next thing is we're gonna give the color for the login part, I mean the login text. So we're gonna say style. Firstly, I'm gonna say text align of center, and I'm gonna give it a color of white, and let's say a font size of 17 and a font weight of, let's give it bold like this. Yeah, I think that's looking better. So after that we have is another kind of pressable. Okay, that is to navigate to the next screen, that is the register screen. So I'm gonna say pressable over here. So it's gonna take in the text, and which is gonna say don't have an account, sign up. Okay, so don't have an account, then I'm gonna say sign up. So save the file. So let's give some margin top to this pressable. So I'm gonna say style, and I'm gonna give a margin top of 30. Okay, 30 is too much. Let's give 20. Yeah, 20 looks good. And I'm gonna say for the text, I'm gonna give text align of center like this. Okay, so let's give some color to this. I think it should be in a gray color. So I'm gonna give color of gray and a font size of, let's say, 16 or 17. Yeah, I think that's looking better. Okay, so for the pressable, we are gonna initialize a on press event. So for that, I'm gonna initialize my navigation first. So I'm gonna say const navigation equals to use navigation like this, and over here I'm gonna initialize my on press event. So before that, let's create our register screen inside of a Stack Navigator. Let's import that out. So inside our Stack Navigator over here, I'm pretty much gonna copy this piece of code and paste it over here. So instead of the name of login, it's gonna say register, and component, it's gonna be register screen. Okay, I don't think we have initialized the register screen yet. So let's go to the register screen over here, and let's hit rnfes, save the file. Okay, so now hopefully we can import the required file. So I'm gonna say register screen and import it from the screens folder like this. Okay, so save the file. Let's come back to our login screen. Okay, so on press, I'm gonna say it's gonna take in a function. I'm gonna say navigation dot navigate to the name of the screen we want to navigate to. So inside the Stack Navigator, the name we gave for the register screen was this. So I'm gonna pretty much copy that, and I'm gonna paste it over here. Okay, so let's save the file. and let's give it a try. So if I press on this, we should be navigated to the register screen. Okay, so let's start styling out the register screen. So over here again, I'm going to make use of the safe area view. Okay, here we're just going to copy and make the changes. Okay, so over here like this. Okay, so copy pretty much all of the things from the login screen. Firstly, the style. Again, over here also we need to have a background color of white. So there you go. Okay, and after that we have is this particular keyboard avoiding view. Let's copy the entire thing, and I'm gonna paste it instead of this text. Okay, so let's import the necessary things. Firstly, we need the keyboard avoiding view, and we also need the pressable. We also need the text input. Okay, and we need state as well. So I'm gonna say use state. Okay, and apart from that we have the text input, pressable. Yeah, that's it. So let's initialize our style first. I mean, not the style, our state. So again, I'm going to say const email comma set email equals to use state of again an empty string at the initial stage, and the next thing is for our password. So I'm going to say const password comma set password equals to use state, again an empty string. So the final one, we have another attribute, that is our phone number. So I'm going to say const phone comma set phone equals to use state of again an empty string. Okay, so pretty much everything is done. I think we need one more piece of input field. Let's copy this view again, and I'm gonna paste it over here. Okay, so let's change the value. So instead of password, it's gonna be phone. Okay, and on change text, so here we're gonna say set phone. Okay, and we're going to remove the secure text entry to be, I mean, we're going to remove that entirely. Okay, so let's save the file. So there you go. Okay, so instead of the login, it's going to say register. Okay, register, and over here it's going to say already have an account, then sign in. I'm going to say already have an account, then sign in. Okay, so instead of navigation.navigate to register, I'm just going to say navigation.go back to the previous screen. So let's initialize a navigation first over here. So I'm going to say const navigation equals to use navigation, import from React navigation, and save the file. Okay, we have pretty much everything, register, and okay, so we need to change the top text, that is register and create an account. So here we're gonna say register, and this is gonna be create an account. Save the file. Yeah, so there you go. So if I press on this, we'll be navigated to the first screen. Okay, so that's it about the design structure of both the screens, that is login screen and the register screen. So the next thing we'll be looking into is we'll be initializing a new project inside of a Firebase and copy the config from the Firebase project that we created. Okay, so I'm going to go to Firebase first and then create a new project. Okay, so I'm going to first go to Chrome. I've opened up Firebase already. So I'm going to say go to console, and I'm going to create my new project over here. So I'm going to say add project. Let's say booking project like this, and press on continue. And I'm not going to enable this. Press on create project. So this should create a project inside of our Firebase, and it should give us a Firebase config. Okay, when we create a particular app. So let's wait for it to initialize the project. Okay, so our project is ready. So let's press on continue. Okay, so I'm going to say web app like this. So let's give it a name. So I'm going to give the same name that I gave, that is booking app, and register app. So it's going to give us a Firebase config. Let's wait for it to give it. Okay, so pretty much copy this piece of code and say continue to console. Okay, so there you go, one app has been created. So I'm going to say settings, go to the project settings, and if you see, yeah, you can see your config over here as well. Okay, so pretty much copy this out and create a new file inside of our app. So I'm going to say firebase.js like this. Okay, just paste the config whatever you have copied out, and let's remove all of the unnecessary details like this. Okay, so now let's install Firebase into the app. So I'm going to say yarn add Firebase. So I'm going to install this version, that is 9.17.2. okay, so I'm going to press enter. So hopefully it should install this particular version, and we should see that inside our package JSON. So let's give it some time. Okay guys, so Firebase has been installed. Okay, so if you check out our package JSON, okay, so Firebase, there you go. So the same version has been installed, which I've given. So now let's come back to our register screen, or inside, okay, before that, inside our firebase.js file, we're gonna say, after this piece of code, after line 14, I'm gonna say const auth. We need the auth also, that is for initialization of the authentication part. So I'm gonna say const auth equals to get auth, import it from firebase/app like this, not get app, get auth. Okay, so let's import get auth from firebase/auth. So I'm going to say import get auth from firebase/auth. okay, after that we need access to our DB as well. So I'm going to say const DB equals to get firestore like this, firestore. Okay, so we need to also import our firestore. Okay, let's manually do it. So I'm going to say import get firestore from firebase/firestore. okay, so after this I'm going to export all of the default values. Okay, so to the get auth I'm going to pass in the app. Okay, after that I'm going to say export auth as well as DB. So save the file. So now let's come back to our register screen over here. Okay, so firstly I'm going to initialize on press event on the register button, that is over here. So I'm going to say on press, I'm just going to say register. So let's define this function right at the top. So I'm going to say const register equals to an arrow function. So firstly I'm going to check if all of these values are filled or not, right? So if all of the values are filled, then only this button is going to work. Okay, so I'm going to say if email equals to an empty string, or if the password equals to an empty string, or the phone equals to an empty string, then in that case I'm going to show a basic alert message. Okay, so to do that I'm going to copy that from alert React Native, the second link, and I'm going to copy, let's say, this piece of code, that is a 2-button alert. Okay, so I'm just going to simply paste it over here. Let's import alert from React Native. Okay, so save the file. So now let's press on the register button. Yeah, so there you go, we are getting the alert message and the title. So here we're gonna say invalid details, and over here we're gonna say please enter all the credentials, something like this. Okay, so after this, if at all of these details are present, then in that case we're gonna say create user with email and password. That's going to come from firebase/auth. You need to import that, and this method is going to take in 3 things, that is the auth, the email, and the password as well. So auth we already have inside of our Firebase file, we have exported it, so we need to import it over here like this. Okay, so the next thing is it's going to take in the email and the password. Okay, so both of them have been stored inside of state, correct? So after we execute this function, we have the .then method, which is going to give us basically all of the user credentials like this. Okay, so now what we need to do is So after we initiate this, we need to store all of the users inside of our database. So for that, firstly, let's initialize our database first, that is the authentication as well as the DB. So firstly, for authentication, we're gonna say get started over here, and we're gonna say email and password, and we're gonna enable this and save the file. So now this is gonna work properly. And after that, we need access to our Firestore database as well. Okay, let's again press get started over here or create database. Okay, so let's press on next and enable. So it's going to take a couple of minutes. Yeah, there you go, our database has been created. So inside the rules, I'm going to make everything true firstly. So let's wait for this to open. Okay, so over here I'm going to say true, and after doing that, you need to publish it so that the changes get published. Okay, yeah, so there you go. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to come back to our code and then start writing the function execution. Okay, so over here, after we get the user credentials, firstly I'm going to access the user email. So I'm going to say const user equals to the user credentials dot whatever the token response is. You can pretty much console.log the user credentials. You're going to get a bunch of details, and from that details I'm just going to take in my email. So I'm going to say user credentials dot token response like this and dot email. Okay, so and after that I'm going to say we're going to get a unique user UID whenever a user registers to Firebase. So to get that, I'm going to say const UID equals to auth dot current user dot UID. Okay, auth has already been imported from the Firebase file, and this is the method. I'm going to say set doc over here, imported from Firebase / Firestore, and this method is going to take in the doc which we want to initialize. Import that also from Firebase / Firestore. So the doc method is going to take in, of course, the DB that's going to come from the Firebase file, and we need to pass in the name of the collection. I'm going to say users. Okay, and inside the users collection, I want to go into a specific UID which we already have over here. Okay, so I'm going to make use of backticks and I'm going to say UID. Okay, so into that collection, I'm going to pass in two details. That is my email, that's going to be user, and the next thing we have is the password, not the password, the phone. That's going to be the phone itself that's stored inside of state. Okay, so hopefully let's give this a try. So save the file, and I'm going to say my email, okay, my password, and the phone number. Okay, so I'm just going to say I'm going to press on register. So hopefully nothing should go wrong. So let's give that a try. Okay, I think our user has been created inside of a Firebase database. So let's check it out. So if you go over here, firstly let's check out a Firebase database. Yeah, so there you go, our user's collection has been created. This is the unique UID, and this is the details that is being stored, that is the email as well as the phone. So with the same unique UID, we have inside of our authentication block. You can check that out. Can you see this? Okay, so the same UID, I'm using it to store all of the users inside of our Firebase database. Okay, so now we need to look into the login screen. Okay, we're going to make use of a listener so that if at all the user is present, we're going to navigate to the main home screen, and if at all the user is not present, we're going to navigate to the, we're going to show the login screen itself, correct? So we're going to implement that now. So over here, I'll be making use of the listener that I told. Okay, so firstly, I'll be writing use effect. Okay, so over here, we'll track if at all the user is present or is not present. So for that reason, I'm just going to say const unsubscribe equals to, I'm going to get in the auth from the Firebase file, and this has a method called as on. auth state changed, okay, which is going to return us the auth user if at all present or not present. Okay, so we're going to check the condition, that is if at all we have the auth user, we need to perform something, and if we do not have the auth user, okay, we should do something else, right? So if we have the auth user, of course we have to navigate to the main screen. So I'm going to say navigation.navigate to the main tabs, okay, and after that I'm just going to say return unsubscribe. Okay, so yeah, I think it's better to put this inside of a try catch block. So I'm going to say try. Okay, and let's write a catch block. So for now I'll just be console.logging whatever error we have. Okay, so let's format it once. Okay, and then we can save the file. I don't think this is required. I think we can pretty much remove that. We just want to check if at all the auth user is there. Okay, so I'm going to save the file. Okay, so now let's give it a try. I'm going to register a new user from the start. So let's do that. I'm going to write in my password as well as my phone number, and I'm going to press on register. Okay, so there you go. Our user has been created inside of Firebase, and we have registered that particular user. Okay, so yeah, one more problem is that sometimes what happens is this method, that is the on auth state change method, is not going to work correctly. Now it's working. Okay, when it's not going to work is like if I refresh the app and open it up again, what's going to happen is again this is going to run, and this function is not going to trigger off. So for that reason, we will be seeing the home screen itself. I mean, now the home screen, we'll be seeing the login screen itself, right? So I'll just show you that part. Even I'm not sure why that doesn't work sometimes. So refresh the app. So now I'm going to open it from the beginning. So you should be seeing the login screen itself. Even though this is going to run, this method is not going to get triggered off. That is the on auth state changed. So yeah, there you go. It's still in the login screen. So even though we have the auth user, okay, so actually what happens is like even if you just initialize Firebase actually keeps track of the user's status, like if it is present or not. So it should be working. So if this is not working, like there are different methods, I guess. You can actually store the token inside of your async storage, and then we can do that. I'll not be implementing that, but I think I can give you the code for that. So I'll just copy paste the code right now over here. Okay guys, you can just pretty much go through this piece of code. That is, if at all this method doesn't work, that is on auth state changed, you can look into this. Okay, so firstly I'll be making use of async storage. You need to install that package. Okay, and after that, like this method has two things, that is the set item and get item. So firstly you need to set the item first. Okay, so in this case, so if you just console.log whatever the user credentials we are getting from Firebase, so there will be something called as an access token. So you can pretty much set that, and you can make use of another listener instead of this, and again a try catch block, and just try to fetch that item. Okay, that is done with the help of the get item method, and we use a unique key to differentiate both. Okay, so basically while setting the item we give a key, and while getting the item also we have to give the same key to access this particular value. Okay, so you can pretty much try this out. So in this case we were checking if the auth user is present, whereas in this case we are just checking if that particular access token is present. Then in that case we're going to navigate to the main screen. I'm not implementing this. You can pretty much go through the code. I'm just commenting it out for now. Okay, that's just for reference. This is like another method which we can try it out if this is not working. Okay, so the next thing is we need to initialize the login button, I mean the login function for the button. That is going to be done on the pressable over here. So I'm going to say on press. So I'm just going to say login. So I'm just going to initialize my login over here. So I'm just going to say const login equals to a basic arrow function. So it's pretty much going to be the same thing whatever we did for register. So instead of create, I think it's going to be sign in with email and password. Okay, So this also is going to take in basically three things, that is our auth and the email and password, whatever we give, and the after that, that is the dot then method. Okay, let me just get the console.logs for this. So it's going to take in the user credential similar to the register method. So I'm going to save the file. Okay, so let's try logging in now. Okay, so I'm going to give my email and the password. So let's press on login, and there you go, we have been logged in with that particular user email. Okay, so that's the basic implementation of authentication using the email and password method. Okay guys, I've just created a collection called as the places collection, and I've generated an auto ID for this. Okay, so since this is a time consuming process, I'll just be showing you the same places collection with my previous project. Okay, so that is over here. So as you can see, the places collection is going to have two IDs, I mean two auto IDs that are being generated. Okay, so this one is for the first place and this one is for the second place. So the way we do that is create a collection called as places and then add document. Just press on auto ID, it's going to get automatically generated, and then press on save. Okay, after doing that, you can pretty much add all of your fields over here. So pretty much for each of the ID, these four fields are easy to add, that is the ID, place image and short description. And after that we have is properties. So I'm basically copying all of the details from my search screen. Okay, so that is ID, place image, a place and short description, and after that we have properties for that particular ID, that is this object. Okay, so properties is a type of an array, so I've done the same thing. So if you check out properties, it's going to be an array. Okay, so type of array, and inside the properties we have three places, we have three properties for this particular place. Okay, so that's going to be a type of map, an object. Okay, so again we have all of the details. Okay, so new price, old price should be a type of number, and other than that all of them are going to be string. Okay, and again after these details we have another array, that is photos. Okay, again that is going to be a type of array, and photos again, each photo is going to be a type of map, which is going to have a unique ID and the image itself. So apart from that we have the rooms as well. So again the rooms is going to be a type of array. Okay, and all of the other things inside the rooms is going to be a type of map, that is an object. Okay, and that's it for the first property. So for the second property, again we have all of these details, single details, and again we have the photos array. Okay, I think again we have 10 photos that are being generated. Again we have the rooms, and finally the third property. Okay, again it's going to be similar. So the same thing is going to come for the second ID for a different place. Again we have the properties, and there you go. Okay, so just please create this one if you want to develop the backend using the same data that I've given. Just copy the correct field with the correct value. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to get all of these data in the front end, in the front end part. Okay, so let's do that. So let's head over to the search screen, I guess, search screen or search places, search results. I think it should be in the search screen itself. Let's check this out first. Yeah, hopefully it should be in the search screen itself. So yeah, let's look into that. So firstly I'm gonna write my use effect over here so that I can access the data from the backend. Okay, so I'm just gonna make it run once. So I'm just gonna provide an empty dependency array. Okay, so firstly I'm gonna initialize my state. So I'm gonna say const items comma set items equals to use state, and initially I'm going to provide an empty array, and let's import use state. It's already imported. Okay, so here firstly I'm going to check if the items dot length is greater than 0. Okay, if that's the case, Okay, I'm just gonna say return. Okay, because I don't want this use effect to run even if the items dot length is greater than 0. Okay, if it runs in that case, then we're gonna get duplicate items, right? So to prevent that, I'm just writing this condition which says if items dot length is greater than 0, then just return from this use effect. Okay, after that I'm gonna write my functions. I'm just gonna say const fetch products. Okay, it's gonna be a async function like this. Okay, so firstly I'm gonna reference to the column, so I'm just gonna say column ref equals to collection imported from Firebase / Firestore, and to the collection I'm gonna provide the DB of course and the collection name. So the collection name which we are referring to is the places. Okay, and after that I'm gonna say const docs snap equals to await. There's a method called as get docs, so import that from Firebase / Firestore. So this is going to take in the column ref that we created. Okay, and after that I'm going to say doc snap dot for each. We have the for each method, and for each doc I'm just going to say items, that is our state dot push all the doc dot data. Okay, so that's it, and after this I'm just gonna call the function that is fetch products. Okay, so let's hopefully console.log the items to check if all of the details are coming back. So I'm gonna say console.log of items. Okay, so let's save the file, and there you go, you're getting all of the details, right? All of this is coming from the backend itself. And if you want to, you can just copy the Firebase config with which I've changed it from the previous one. So it's going to be this config. So this is, for this config, all of the data is present for the places collection. Okay, so you can pretty much check this out and you can utilize it. So let's come back to the search screen, and you can pretty much start typing the places, and there you go, it's working absolutely fine. Okay, so the next thing we're going to implement is we're going to go to the places screen, and then we're going to implement it. Okay, again we are using the data over here, so again I'm going to make the same call over here and implement it. So I'm going to write my use effect over here. Yeah, so I'm just going to paste the same thing that I've written in the search result screen, in the search screen. Okay, so it's pretty much going to be same, except we have these two things, that is set loading true and then set loading false. Okay, so let's import the necessary details, that is the collection, the DB from Firebase, the get docs, and yeah, I think that's it. Let's import use effect as well. Okay, and we need to manage the loading state as well. Okay, over here we have set loading of true, so I'm just going to say const loading comma set loading equals to use state of false. So initially it's going to be false, and when this use effect runs, we're going to set it to be true, and after it has got all of the products, we're going to set it to be false. Okay, so let's manage that as well. So after the pressable, I'm going to say if it is loading, I'm going to render something else. I'm pretty much going to render this entire scroll view. Okay, so if loading is true, I'm just going to say a text attribute for now. I'm going to say fetching products or fetching places, something like this. Yeah, hopefully let's give this a try. Okay, so currently we have selected Bangalore, and I'm going to select in some dates. Okay, and then press on done, submit. So now if I press on the search button, it should, if it is loading, it should give us this message which says fetching products, and after it has fetched all of the products, this is going to get executed, that is set loading to be false. So if it is false, we have to see all of the products, right? Yeah, and we forgot to make one more change after setting the items, that is over here. We have to make use of the items, right, that is coming from Firebase. So let's look into that. So I think that is gonna be over here. Okay, instead of data, it's gonna be items. And let's pretty much copy all of this at the top. Okay, I'm gonna paste it, let's say, after the filters. Okay, we have the use state imported, use effect. Okay, hopefully everything should work fine. Let's give it a try. Save the file. I'm gonna press on search. So there you go, fetching places, and there you go. We are seeing everything from the backend that we are getting. Okay, and pretty much all of the functionalities should work fine. So there you go. Yeah, I think everything is working fine. Okay, so the next thing we're going to implement is, if at all we book any of the any one of the hotel, and that particular detail should be stored for that particular user into the unique UID of that particular user. Okay, so let's implement that first. So let's go book a hotel. So towards my right, I'm going to go into a particular hotel and select the availability and enter all of my details. And the number as well, and the final step. Okay, so when we press on book now, we will be navigated to the main screen. Okay, and we need to store all of the details as well. Okay, so for that, let's come back to the confirmation screen, and after dispatching, I'm gonna say, firstly I'm gonna make this a function as async over here. Yeah, you can pretty much check this out. Okay, so after that we're gonna give this a try. Okay, and after that I'm gonna say merge is gonna be true. So let's save the file, and if I press on book now, we need to be navigated to the main screen. Okay, with this hotel being booked, and all of this detail should be stored inside of a backend. So let's give that a try. So book now. Yeah, we are coming to the main screen, and there you go, this hotel has been booked. And if you check out our backend, okay, I'm using this currently. So if you check out the database once, so the users, so there you go. So this is the email with which I created, and all of the booking details have been stored for that particular user. Okay, so I think that's it about this project. Yeah, I think that's it. We have explored about how we can initialize Firebase and logging in and registering users and store all of the users inside of our backend. I think that's it about this project. Let's see you in the next project, and then thank you for watching.